We go to a tentative budget for fiscal 2019, first read.
Scott has presented a first read for the Board of Education on the FY19 budget. You will see this again at your June meeting, and it will have the May 30th actual, so it'll get you a little closer to a full fiscal year. But this basically will give you 2 weeks to review the information. I'll have Scott in a minute here present the outlook and the general assumptions or key assumptions. I believe there were 1 or 2 short questions submitted, and Scott addressed those. But overall, you'll see that the budget's with a projection of roughly a deficit at this point just over 110,000. Now I anticipate that will go up slightly. If we hire any new staff, we make some bills come in slightly higher than what expected, but it should be below 200,000. So trending in the right direction. Okay, Scott, key highlights for the board.
Okay, if we will look at the revenue assumptions, the biggest increase here is the property taxes, trying to get a better handle on making it so that when you look at the revenue expense report, it doesn't have that big difference between prior year being 108 and current year at like 96. So budgeting a little different in that, and then also increasing it from 98.5 to 99, that generates additional revenue in property taxes. That's the biggest increase from the FY18 budget to the FY19 budget. The other increase is the change in the funding formula for general state aid. It's now evidence-based funding. You will notice that the old state categorical, some of them have been zeroed out, which is majority of those are your special education ones. Those are now added into our new funding formula. There is a big increase in that. Roughly our base minimal is the 1.825350 for next year. Those are the 2 big pieces there.
But of that, Scott, that's really money we already had.
We already had.
So the only new increase in state funding is how much, roughly, approximately?
Roughly 73,000.
Okay.
You get a little extra in some fee collections that we have, little extra in additional revenue, potentially with vending or rentals. Increase on the revenue side. If we move to the expenditure side for the key assumptions, the main one that is the increase is our salaries for certified staff. Approximately, this is going to be an increase of $336,000 from the previous year. This takes into account our collective bargaining increases for staff 1 through 30. They get $3,800 increase, and anyone over 30 would get $2,100. This also takes into account the 104.6 FTE that was approved by the board. There's placeholders in the budget for that. Insurance cost is another one that has an increase. This increase is due to the last census that was ran for our entire staff. Some of the reasons why it's going to increase is during open enrollment, some of our teachers actually took the insurance who waived it. Throughout the course of the year, we had people who moved from single to family to increase it, and then our new hires throughout the course of the year, some have taken the insurance. So that increase there is all accounted for. Of the 115, I have that accounted for the increase. I do know that I presented to the board that through our EBC Cooperative Medical that it was going to stay flat, but these dollars account for the change in the plans for the staff. There is an increase in our operations and maintenance, telephone and increase line item. I moved backup internet from our technology department and moved everything that's associated with the telephone and internet into one account to be more accurate on it. So that account in our operations and maintenance line item will show an increase. And then in our technology department, you'll see a decrease in our paid service. Some of the other increases are basically to match what's in the collective bargaining. There were a few stipend positions that were not accounted for in the FY18 budget, which have been accounted for in the FY19 budget. So there will be some variation to the stipends. And then there's also some significant expenditures that we need to wait a little longer here to see what the actuals are going to come in at. Some of the key ones would be our out-of-district tuition for special education. I am working with our special ed director to make sure that the number that I received to be put into the budget is accurate. So I want to cross-reference with that to make sure if that line item needs to stay the same or does it need to be increased.
And we put our out-of-district tuition, it's not under special ed in the budget, correct?
That is correct. It's under a different function.
It's under a different function. What
Under
function?
1910, 1912.
Which is what, I received a question earlier on that, I didn't submit it by accident. So I just
Okay,
wanna-
let's see if I can get the page.
Just 10, 19, 12, it's out-of-district tuition?
Out-of-district tuition. It's
Okay.
currently budgeted at 922. It's looking like it's going to be over budget currently in this year, depending on what invoices come in here. So that's something that we're watching closely. And I want to make sure that I cross-reference with our special ed director on what the actual out-of-district placements are.
All right, so then why don't you just quickly go through the summary on page 115, is that?
Okay.
That's the snapshot of everything, correct?
Yep. The big picture summary is a snapshot of everything, detailing every fund with it. Let's see here. If you highlight, the main focus is if you just go down the columns, it gives you what our revenue would be versus our expenditures, what the deficits would be in each fund account, and in the middle of it, you'll see the deficit of 112. That is excluding the $200,000 transfer from working cash to capital projects for potential land acquisition on that, potentially for the fields. If you look, though, at our projected fund balances on the bottom, with the $2.8 million, if you look at our fund balance, our fund expenditures versus our operating fund balance, we'd be sitting at a 55%. I just want to remind again that the board has restricted $3 million. 200 of that would be used in our FY19 budget, leaving the 2.8, which is restricted. And with our current operating fund expenditures versus the remaining fund balance, we still would be sitting at 44.12%.
So basically about 4 months.
Yes.
Yeah. And the board has a policy that requires us to maintain a 33%.
33%.
Any questions from the board?
All right.
There's no action on this tonight, so we'll see it again in June.
One of your assumptions was on the property taxes, that historically we were budgeting 98.5 collection rate.
Yes.
You see on, and you moved it up to 99,
To 99.
so another 0.5%. So, and a reason for that is because of recent collection rates.
On our tax collection rate, I do have a chart that tracks from 2008 until 2016, showing it. Our 3-year average is at 99%. The 5-year average was 98.6. 6-year was 98.38. Just keeping with the trend, being that the 3-year is the most current. looking at it, 99% seemed more feasible versus the 98.5.
All right, so in our budget before, budgeting 98.5 was a reasonable percent based on some
three-year
historical rates, but now in the most recent 3 years,
Is
we've been
99%.
seeing it going back up to 90. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Matters for closed.
We have matters for closed session, personnel, student discipline, purchase or lease of real property, probable imminent pending litigation, collective negotiations, and school safety. This is a second opportunity for visitors to have statements. Seeing no visitors, we will go on to, we didn't have any discussion items, correct? And consideration of items for future meetings.
That was the possibility
Yeah,
to discuss
Right.
recognition.
All right, can we get a motion to go into closed?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, enters closed session for the purpose of considering appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, student discipline, purchase or lease of real property, probable or imminent or pending litigation, collective negotiations, and school safety.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, see you guys down there in 10?
Yep.